Hi, I'm Jus Sargeant. I'm here on hellblazer.biz with Chris Gordon.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, listeners and viewers wherever you are in the world right now. You are tuned into Hellblazer Biz with your one and only host, me, Chris Gordon. Thanks all for tuning in. This week I bring you a fantastic guest. He is a narrator of audiobooks from John P. Logsdon and Christopher P. Young, the Ononokin series, which I absolutely love. Hilarious books, and this guy's voices are superb, spot on. So without further ado, I introduce to you the brilliant Jus Sargeant. Everyone, I have the honour and the privilege of the company of Jus Sargeant, who I was lucky enough to have met a couple of weeks ago in Edinburgh with John Logsdon and Ben Zackheim. So hi Jus, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you very much. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's always surreal, isn't it? After just chatted for 15 minutes and then, hello. Cool. So yeah, obviously I brought you on as a guest because you are the narrator for one of the books, the audiobooks that I've been listening to, which drew me into the world of John P. Logsdon and Ononokin. I mean, obviously, you've narrated over 80 in total across the board, I think, 80 or 90 from what I can see.
I've got over 80 books out there, but of different genres.
Yeah. But I've got to say, it was the Ononokin ones that drew me right in there, because obviously, as we've just discussed, on my long commute, I need something to listen to, and I thought I loved Terry Pratchett. So I thought, that looks from the cover of it, I thought that looks very the similar type thing, and I was like, I just got drawn straight in, especially with the voices, like we say, because I do like reading, as we've just discussed, and character building, but your characters are just, I've not read the books, but I wouldn't be able to look at the books now without thinking of your versions of them.
It's funny, but I mean, I am a huge Pratchett fan. And it was exactly that reason that I picked up one of the Ononokin books to start with.
Mm-hmm.
And it was reading them, chuckling away, and realizing that these were actually quite funny, and discovering that they weren't available in audio. And I even, in the book, I had the author's email address, and I had a little chat with my producer, and we decided to... Well, I listened to a bit more. The producer I work with, Matt Brown from Living Audio, is blind, so I recorded a couple of chapters for him so that he could have a listen, and I also sent him the email address that I'd got for John P. Logsdon.
Yeah.
Before I knew it, he had edited and mastered my audio that had only been for his benefit, but he decided that was good enough. He mastered it, he edited it, and he sent it off to John with an introduction on us and what we do. And it was literally a matter of hours before suddenly we were told, yeah, we want to go forward, and we were going to be working on these books.
Fantastic. It's great to see it that way round, where you're actually a fan of the stuff and you reach out as well. So it makes it...
Yeah, I mean, I'm a reader. I love reading books all my life. I've just been an avid reader and will soak books up. I'm not necessarily very quick at reading, but I always have a book with me. I think just round the corner here, I have a Robin Hobb that I'm currently in the middle of. But to then find myself in a job where I get to take my passion and help others enjoy reading, but in an audio world, that was just a blessing.
Fantastic. I can imagine. And I say, and you do it so well. Obviously, it's something you're obviously born to do. How did you get into it in the first place? How did you, not just with Ononokin, with the whole thing? I'm interested because people keep saying to me sometimes that I've got a voice that could do with narration or audio. So I'm just like,
I fell into it in a way. I have a varied background, but by training, I'm a professional linguist, a translator. And I got involved in some audio recording through my language stuff. When I was at university originally, I went back to university as a mature student and did some degrees in languages.
Yeah.
I was asked to do some recording. They wanted a Spanish-speaking native English sort of person to record this translation of interviews that somebody was doing as they went down through the Americas, basically, from north down south. And when he got to the border of Mexico, he needed a Spanish speaker, and that was me. And that way I could pronounce the place names and the people's names correctly. And I enjoyed that process, sitting there recording day in, day out when he was around. And I then did another thing of recording, and I knew that was something I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do it? How do you suddenly decide, okay, I'd like to do it, but it's taking that first step? And by chance, I discovered somebody I knew wrote a book and wanted to record it. So I simply said to him, if you think my voice will work, let me audition. And a month after, he was hesitant, but a month later he came back and said, yeah, I'd like you to audition, please.
Wow.
And I got the job, and I've been working with the producer on that book and many books since.
Fantastic.
That book took some time to come out. In the process, I did a whole series of fan fiction books, which I think we might be talking about soon.
Yep.
Because those had to be done first.
Okay. Excellent. Cool. Yeah, we will talk about those. That is a great way into it. I'm actually linguist myself. Ich habe gesehen, dass du einige deutsche Bücher gehabt. If you can speak, I'm sure you can.
Auf Deutsch gemacht, das ist kein Problem. My German is rusty, but it's still okay. I speak reasonably good Spanish and French, and some of the books, many of the like nearly 90 books I've got on Audible and Amazon at the moment are actually aimed at learners of English, with different books targeted to specific language groups.
Yeah.
So I use my languages is on those books.
Mm-hmm. I had seen that. That's why I thought I'd throw that. I was going to ask whether your linguistic background. No, I did German at university as well, so
Okay.
it's a little bit rusty as well at the moment because it was over 20 years ago. So, but it's
my degree was Spanish with German, and then I went on and did a specialist translation masters.
Fantastic.
So you might hear scampering around. There's 3 cats in the house.
Okay.
So sometimes they go mad.
I've got 3 here as well, and my wife's just had to remove one of them, which is a 3-month-old kitten, as it was attacking my feet.
Hard to concentrate when your toes are being chewed.
It is. I'm sitting working from home, and they go out. I'm left with the cat, so I end up having to try and type when there's this cat purring away when I'm trying to be on a call.
I'm surprised there isn't one actually muscling into the camera sort of at the moment, because they often do. Whenever you don't want them there, they're there.
Exactly. Oh, yes. They seem to time it perfectly. Cool. So yeah, as I say, so you have got a fantastic linguistic background there, and I guess that does help because you learn how to. I know I certainly did at the time, and obviously, which has forgotten some of it now. Is you very much learn the grammar, and it helps not only when you study foreign language to obviously learn the foreign language, but it also helps with your own English and the grammar of your own language as well, and how you formulate sentences. So I can see where that's come hand in hand with the narration side of things, and to like you say, to teach it to a foreign person who wants to learn English.
And that was after, well, I suppose some of the first books I really got into after the fan fiction series were actually these books for teaching English. Because, as part of my degree, I did TEFL. I've taught English for many years, and it's like a logical thing to try and do. I've taught, before English, I taught scuba diving for many years.
Okay.
And one of the things I learned from feedback from everybody I've taught is that my spoken English is a very clear form of English. It's the way I was brought up. My accent is actually the way I was taught to speak by my mother.
Yep.
I came home from school with a trace of the local accent, and I grew up in Sussex. I basically given an elocution lesson to sort of drum it out of me. I have this sort of clear BBC English, I call it, that does help with teaching, and it, I think, helps me with my narration, because it gives a really good, clear base for the narration voice, and I build on accents and characters and things like that from that base, and I find that works quite well.
Yeah, I would say it would from a listener. Yes, it does. But yeah, I mean, I was just sort of brought up in the same sort of environment. I think I've succumbed to a bit of accent from where I am at the moment, but I try to. I think mine's quite not as pronounced as BBC English as yours, but I think it's difficult sometimes to tell because I've travelled around a few places. So I try and keep it as accent free as possible because it's quite good then when you do put on the accents.
It's something that if you have a broad regional accent, sometimes it's hard to get past that. And I'm not one of the sort of school of people, because I think that's quite old-fashioned now, where sort of you had to speak BBC English or sort of accentless English if you were doing anything in media. We've moved beyond that, but I still think that for what I do, it helps.
Oh, definitely, because you've got such a broad when you listen doing audio books. Sorry, no, they should tag me for that and give me some. When you're doing audiobooks and especially with the linguistic books that you do, yes, having that accentness, that BBC English voice, is very clear. It's very calm. It's very that is just very, very clear. See, I can't speak. See, that's why I've lost my way of speaking. But it's definitely that kind of a voice which is perfectly suited to the narration.
I learned very quickly on when I was teaching scuba diving in particular that I couldn't speak everybody else's languages in those days, and I was teaching diving on a beach in Greece or in the Canary Islands, and my philosophy was if I couldn't speak their language, then I had to make mine understandable to them. So I developed this sort of teaching voice that I think to some degree carries over onto narration, because crisp pronunciation is very important. You want your listeners to understand everything you're saying and to pick up on every nuance.
Definitely, and that and you're right, and that's the best way to do it. Especially audio picks up everything, so in order to be clear like that, yeah, definitely, it would pick up like I say, every nuance, and as you said, it widens the gap. So when you do other characters, it stands so vastly different to the standard narration voice. To have that character suddenly come in, immediately when you listen, oh right, that's that person, that's that, such and such, that's such and such.
Which is nice to hear, because that's what I'm aiming at. So one of the most flattering comments I had was from John Logsdon, who, when first listened to one of the recordings I'd done, he didn't believe one of the characters I'd recorded was actually me.
Wow.
It was like, okay, I'm doing something right. Because these are all different people in my mind. I'm trying to be different people. And if he doesn't recognize that it's me underneath all of that, then I've done something good.
Yeah. Because I've got to say, there are a couple of characters who I would think, from the ones that I've listened to, I wouldn't have associated them with yourself as well. Obviously I knew because you were narrated them, that would have had to have been you. But they were so far different to how your everyday talk is and how your narration voice is. They are just fantastic. I mean, I would just say Whiz Fiddle for one, with his great Yorkshire accent. He's brilliant. But they're so vastly different.
Daniels.
Yeah. After you told me that, I was like, yeah, you're right. That is poor.
I didn't think about it until afterwards, and it was, I gave a voice. I bounce ideas back and forth with Matt, the producer, and I came up with a voice, and he liked it, and he went, "Hang on, can you do that but with a Yorkshire accent?" So I did, and he went, "We found it." And I must admit, I agreed, it worked.
Excellent, yeah, it did. And I've got to say, with your Trenneth of Dahl as well. Now, when I was thinking about it, I was like, I know that voice from something. It sounds like you've got very much of a Giles Brandreth, because you really, I think you accentuate. It's very close to your normal narration voice, which Giles obviously you've got.
But he's talking out a little bit more nasal and elongated, and it's somebody trying, he's what we might say is somebody trying too hard to be posh in a way, but he's very arrogant, and I try to convey all of that.
Yeah, and that came across. But yeah, the sound of it came across as that person I mentioned, who I won't mention again, in case I get a lawsuit for something good in liking him into being arrogant.
Charles Brandreth would probably just welcome the publicity.
Very true, very true. At this time of he's been out of the public eye for quite a while.
Every now and then on Have I Got News for You?
Excellent. So I mean, one of the series that you have narrated. It was a fan series that I admit I've only just really recently seen, and that's the James Potter series, which is an unofficial fan fiction based on Harry Potter's Harry Potter's eldest son, isn't it? It follows him.
It's Harry Potter's eldest son, James, named after his grandfather. And the series begins on James's first day going to Hogwarts.
Okay, which is like it's 10 years or something after the. I'm just looking at the wiki now.
Rowling's books ended 19 years after Harry Potter's adventures and it takes us to Albus going to Hogwarts.
Yes, so this is James, the predecessor to that.
1 year before that. So we got permission to do this. We obviously needed the permission of the author, Norman Lippert in the States. Mm-hmm. We did approach J.K. Rowling's publicity people. We got permission to go ahead under certain conditions. Okay. And one of those conditions was I was not to be a professional narrator. So that's why I had to record everything straight away. I hadn't received any money at that point. We got it all recorded. Then slowly Matt's been able to fit in editing and get it all mastered and out sort of in bits ever since. He's just actually finished, or he's in the process of finishing the final one now. Okay. I recorded years ago. The final one is about to be released.
All right. Okay. Is that the Crimson Thread? Crimson Thread. Yeah, cool.
There's the first three, I think, the first 4 of the first 4 years of James at Hogwarts. Mm-hmm. Then there's a couple of years missing, and book 5 begins with a brief summary of what's happened in those 2 years. So we jump straight to James's final year.
Okay, that sounds good. I might have to give those a listen as well.
They are, because they're fan fiction, they're not for sale.
Right.
They are available for free at the moment. I think the last one isn't there, but I think all the other 4 are available on iTunes podcasts.
Okay.
So search for James Potter series.
I shall search for that and have a look. That sounds interesting.
There's a little spiel from the author, from me, and then it launches into the introductory chapters. So I think every chapter is a different podcast, so it'll keep you going for a while.
Fantastic. Sorry, my throat's just gone. Okay, so yeah, no, that does sound great.
It's I know well, because some of the character voices I've had to do, you've got to have water around. Funnily enough, I don't have any here with me today. If I get too parched, I'll run round to the kitchen and get myself a glass. Actually, that's thinking of I suppose you could say I cut my teeth on all the James Potter stuff, because that's where I had experience.
Yeah.
And each book had such a range of characters. Mm-hmm. Some of them we knew from the original series. Some of them new, written by George. But I probably had over 100 characters in each book that I had to narrate. And keeping track of all of that and keeping each voice distinct in some way that it was clear was hard work.
Yeah. You see, that's what I'd forget if I was narrating and I had all the different characters. I'd start forgetting which voice I was using for which character.
Oh, and I do sometimes, or at least I stop and it's like, I don't know, hang on, what's the voice? So what I try to do, is I record a small snippet of every voice when I first do it, and I keep that in a little folder on my computer, a reference of voices. So whenever I lose track of who I'm doing, I just quickly open it up, have a quick listen, I can go back. And if I can do that on my phone, then I don't muck around, because it's all on Dropbox, for example,
Yeah.
or that's the one I'm using at the moment, so that I can use it on any device. Quick listen, right, I'm back. Because it's easy to lose control on character voices. When you get into a conversation between 2 or 3, no, you keep track because you're used to them. But suddenly somebody walks in that you haven't seen for 3 or 4 chapters, and it's no, I need a reminder.
Yeah, I mean, I think the longest I came to doing something with voices was when I first started podcasting about 3 years ago now. I was doing little motivational things, and I did I had to change it because I got told off by Disney, but I had a 5-minute conversation with Yoda. So I basically it was just me talking, asking questions, and obviously doing an interview with Yoda. So I was doing my Yoda voice in return. That's as far as I was getting confused at the end of it. Even that was just with two. That was just one character and me.
I suppose I could say hard to keep track it is.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, when 900 years old you reach look as good, you will not.
Yeah. But yeah, you're running into Disney's copyright there.
Oh,
I
yes.
So we might have to scratch that little bit.
Yeah. I changed it into Interview with the Little Green Alien. and they haven't touched me since. Cool. So no, I mean, it's fantastic. I'll say that James Potter series sounds a great way. It's obviously to get yourself into it as well from the background, and to mould yourself and formulate yourself into what we'll be talking about, and what obviously drew me to you in the first place was the Ononokin series. Now, people who are listening, if you haven't listened to Ononokin or read the Ononokin series, or any of the, to be honest, because it's not, I mean, you narrated the Ononokin series, but John Logsdon's obviously done Platoon F, which is, he narrated it himself, which is hysterical as well. But
that one was a bit beyond me for narrating. It needed him.
I think, I as much as great you are as a narrator, I think John, for that one, for those characters, I think there couldn't be anyone, because they needed to come from the person who wrote them, I think.
I understand. Yes, I've skipped through a few pages, but I have very little time I'm reading a book for fun now, which is a rarity these days, because I just don't have time.
I can imagine, because it's
constant. When you read for the job, when you unwind, sometimes you just think, you know what, I don't want to stare at a page again. Whereas I just read in my leisure time all the time, I have less time for that now. I like to just switch off, close my eyes, listen to music a bit more.
I get the feeling. I've worked with computers for 19 years now, and my mum still calls me in an evening, and she's got a problem with her computer. Can I sort it out? And I spent the whole day looking at this kind of thing. It's like, no, I just want to distance myself. Yeah. So I can imagine. Obviously, it's a shame as well, because when you are when you are an avid reader, and it's a love that you have, to sort of get just not put off in a way, but just distanced yourself away from due to time issues.
I had an opportunity while I'm away to pick up a book for fun, and I'm reveling in it. It's been great.
Excellent. So with Ononokin then, just I'm gonna. This is. I've got to say, I introduced my son to it in the car afterwards, and the scene I wanted him to hear was the bar scene at the beginning. And he's telling me off, I think, now for bringing his name into it again. Have I muted myself? No, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. It's I think it's the initial scene in A Quest of Undoing when they get together in the bar, and he's meeting them all for the first time. And I was trying to explain to them beforehand. I was like, with Whiz Fiddles, he's there going, but what's so wrong and different about being gay? And he goes, I thought all elves were gay. And that was that. I know it's a really sort of out. If someone's listening, it's out of context. But the listen to the book in the context. But though that just, I just find it hilarious in that whole speech of it's ridiculing each other on that. It's brilliant.
It was. I mean, I certainly enjoyed the books enough that I wanted to narrate them.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of an old advert from years ago. But no, quite simply, I was grabbed enough by it that, doing what I do and looking, always being on the lookout for that next possible project. And I saw that one, and it was like, I have to at least try. If I don't get accepted because they've got other ideas, that's fine. That's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
But at least I've got to try and ask them. And what I've heard since is from John and from his wife Lorelei that they were absolutely bowled over when they heard the
Not
audition
surprised.
was submitted to them. That basically we captured it, or I captured it exactly how they would like to sort of have heard it. And he said that he's had previous people come up to him and send him recordings. Nothing was right until I hit the nail on the head. Despite the fact that occasionally my pronunciation is wrong.
Yeah, Ononokin for starters, because I call it that and it's wrong.
But he didn't tell me that for several books.
I remember that. Yeah, you telling us that when we met. That was
that it's not supposed to be Ononokin, it's supposed to be Ononokin.
Yeah. See, I've always called it Ononokin as well, but that could be because I've heard it from when you said it when you first introduced the book.
My bad.
Yeah, your fault. There's a whole load of people now calling it the wrong thing because of you.
I think that amuses John, and he likes the way I did it, so he didn't want me to fix it.
No, that's fair.
And it's not the only one. That in the latest book that is recorded but not yet post-produced, there is a character there that I named wrong as well.
Oh, great.
However, in that book, there's without ruining the storyline, because I'll obviously have to be careful.
Yeah.
Look out for the very end of the book, and there is something related to my mispronunciation of the character's name. So there's just a little bit of a hint that if you go and listen to the Ultimate Dragon Fighting Championship when it's out, I know that Matt he's just finishing off the last of the James Potters now.
Okay.
And he told me today that the next one in his project to-do list is the Ultimate Dragon Fighting Championship. So watch this space. I don't know how long it'll be, but it probably won't be too long before that's on the shelves.
Brilliant, brilliant. I've got to say, I think I listened up to The Kidnapped Prince at the moment. Saving Major Wiggles is the new one for me to listen to.
Yeah, that's the last one that's out.
Yeah.
So basically, Kidnapped Prince, Saving Major Wiggles, and Ultimate Dragon Fighting Championship are all sort of related to each other in that they are adventures of Gungren.
Oh, brilliant. Gungren is my favourite, and he really is. He's just a hilarious character, and the voice that you do for him it's superb. And I know when we met, I asked you how easy was it, and you just came out with it, and it was like, wow.
It's always hard to sort of just produce it. Somehow.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Worked on the day, but Gungren's voice. Again, you read the text, and you get before I even start thinking of recording. I read the whole book. Yeah. Because you need to know every bit of information about all the characters you're going to read. You also need to have a general sense for the pacing of the book and for the way it's laid out. But when it comes to the characters, in my initial read, I note down everything I can pertinent to those characters. And it's only when you've got that information that you can start to put the voices together. And one thing about Gungren is that being a giant, a little one, but a giant, and, he's not going to sound intelligent. Yeah. Despite that he is, but he's not going to sound it. And you also learn about, you get the banter back and forth between Wizfiddle and Gungren with the grammar correction and things like that.
It has me in tears of laughter, that really.
In the end, that helped me create his voice. So it's like, I'm not sorry, master. It just worked with his bad grammar and the way I could picture him in my head.
Fantastic. And you're right. I mean, those scenes where it is, because obviously, that's the writing there as well. John, where he's written Whizfiddle and Gungren all the way through, and it's not just one little bit. It's constantly all the way through. You just get every now and then you just get this little banter between them. It's like, no, Gungren.
Yeah, correct it, and then he's like, "Oh, I give up. I can't be doing with it."
Yeah. It's spot on. And I mean, obviously, there's a plethora of characters in there. I guess you've got to remember as well. I mean, because you did Bob the zombie.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm not even sure. I'd have to listen to them again.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, Bob is very very salivary, and he's a zombie. But some of these characters, they can cause a tickle in the throat.
Yeah.
John has this habit of writing characters that can cause me unknown trouble. Less so in Ononokin, but even there sometimes. Mm-hmm. The Starliner story, the first one of that series that I hope he will write more for. When I did that one, some of those characters absolutely killed me.
Excellent. I've actually got that on my list. That's on my Audible playlist for 2 books' time. After Saving Major Wiggles.
I think it's a brilliant book. I'm biased because I recorded it. Of course I am. He wasn't convinced that actually it would be right for me because he's of the mindset, or he was of the mindset, that fantasy benefits best from an English accent. Mm-hmm. Science fiction works best with an American. But we persuaded him to let me have a go.
Yeah.
I recorded it, or at least I recorded some of it before he got to listen to it. And he was absolutely stunned and delighted at how it worked out. Because I guess most science fiction does come from the States, but not all of it. We have a good tradition over here as well.
Oh, yeah. we do. In fact, ours goes back a long time as well, our science fiction writing. Before there was Harold? No, that's not Jules Verne. He's French. I know he's French. I mean European. I'm talking about. I'm not just British. But
I think the sort of science fiction was Edward Bulmer Lytton back in Victorian era. I think that's who it was, and he's also just one of these little gems of useless information. There was a food stuff that they used to eat in his books called vril. Mm-hmm. That they survived on. Now, around that time, a certain beef product, not dissimilar from Marmite, was invented, produced, and they made the name up using his vril and part of it. So bo for bovine and vril for food, like life, bovril. Mm-hmm. So that's got literary roots from ancient British science fiction.
Fantastic. See, there you go. What I find scary is when you do watch some of the early science fiction things, like Star Trek and things like that. I mean, it's widely known as with their little comms units and you just look at today's society and you think, wow, 40 years ago that was science fiction. Now it's old hat.
That says the man with a headset with a mouse.
Yeah, exactly. Talking on video chat, this is like this is stuff that would never have been thought of even 20 years ago.
Using my communicator.
Exactly. It was even better when they had the little flip down. I think they were on Motorola's or something, when you just had to flip it down. It was definitely a Star Trek communicator. Cool. I've got 2 questions before I sort of slow down. Is from people who sent them in. Laura Saxon, she's an actress, up and coming actress. She'd like to know, what's your most favourite book that you've narrated across everything?
Favourite book that I've narrated? To be honest, I don't think I can say I have one favourite. I have enjoyed all the Ononokin books. Mm-hmm. That's been great fun. Helping bring that world to life. Of course, I loved the Potters. But I've done so many different ones that each have something unique that I just throw myself into every product or project that I do and try and bring it to life. So there was one I've done recently or last year, again, sort of young adults fantasy called Draken. And there's a new challenge in every book. That one was a challenge. It was the leading character was a young girl, like a teenage girl, which a lot of people feel that has to be a female narrator. But I did it, and I don't think I just did it. I think I did it reasonably well, and the book is selling. And that's not just down to me. That's also down to the writer. So Sarah Nova, who wrote it, did a great job creating a book. I just brought it to life.
Yeah.
And that's something that every book brings me a challenge. It's like a new sort of synthesis of process, taking somebody's work, bringing it to life. And I get a buzz out of doing that for everybody. So do I have one favorite? No. But I have lots of favorites, and it depends on my mood for a book at any one time. So I'm sorry I can't give you a definitive answer. I think I've given you an answer that makes sense.
No, it was a good answer, thanks. And Scott Reed, moving on, is sort of narrowing it down even more. What's your favourite Logsdon character?
Well, Gungren's got to be up there. And Whizfiddle's got to be up there. But the one that gives me the biggest smiles whenever I narrate that is Murray. Have you come across Murray yet?
Oh, which one's Murray in? I know the name. The name sounds...
I'm trying to think. He's Murray the Mole, isn't he? Was he a mole? I can't remember now.
The
I gave him a bit of a backcountry accent.
Yeah, yes, I have, yeah.
He was a mole who'd been living in isolation and basically brought into the world, given IT communications, and he became an IT wizard. And whenever we saw Murray come up in the next sort of pages, I would tell Matt, "Oh, we've got Murray coming out." We'd go, "Yay!" We enjoy doing those characters. It's always fun when you've got I mean, I must admit, I've done some children's books. They're not intellectually stimulating as written material.
Yeah.
They're not aimed at my age group, but they're so much fun. You get to play with all these voices. There's a series that I'm actually doing the last one of at the moment. There's 5 books. Starts with one called Hagbane's Doom that a lot of primary schools have a play version that they do with the kids. But there's actually several more books in the series. And there are so many animal characters in that series that you just get to play. How can I not love my job when I get to voice all of these characters and really have fun?
Yeah, fair enough.
It's where I work on my own and I send my recorded material to my producer, and they're okay. The days that my producer and I work together live, him in his studio, me in mine, connected over the internet through sort of good quality, broadcast quality audio software, and we end up in hysterics, having wonderful time. It brings the work to life. It also forces... I like working with somebody there because it's another pair of ears. If something goes wrong, he can say, go back and fix that. It's easier to do it on the fly.
Yeah.
But you get to a point where it's like, I don't know, it's a new character. Oh my God, what am I going to do with this guy now? And he's like, well, why don't we try this? We've done that, so many of the others. And it just brings that extra dynamic into the process. But we have fun when we do it, because when you're working on children's, young adult books, or even John Logsdon's books that are comedy, so they're not designed for us to have fun, it's a great job. I still needed to pay more, but it's a great job.
Yeah. Excellent, excellent. No, that is really brilliant, and having fun. That's what it's all about. Uh, which is why I do what I do with this little thing, because I have fun with it. It doesn't bring any money in at all, sadly, which is why I can't do it full time. But it brings fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Right, my signature question, just for you, for my last question, so I can let you get back to your reading and your relaxing, is this is a really strange question. It's an off the wall one, and it's one I used about 2 years ago. I had one of the guests on, and he was you're a Star Wars fan,
Yeah.
right? Nine Num. You know the guy with these? He's got the kind of the like giant monkey face. He wears the red jumpsuit, blue. Flew the Millennium Falcon with Lando Calrissian at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I think I remember.
He's actually the only side character to make it through all the Star Wars films up to now, which is quite good. But yeah,
I'm going to have to go back and like follow up on that, because small characters sometimes slip through the radar, as it were. But
yeah, you always see him in all of the new trilogy, the brand new one. You can see him in all the major command scenes and stuff, and even talking. His character's there. He's still there. He's pretty much the one of the only rebels besides the main characters who's survived every single battle right up to the modern.
he deserves a bit more script writing in his.
He does, yeah. I think he did get a bit more in the last one, but and but anyway, the actor's called. He's worked for Jim Henson for 25 years, which is another dream job, sitting as a Muppeteer. I mean, so I did joke with him and said, "So you've had your hand up, Miss Piggy and Kermit, for the past 20 odd years," which he did say, "Yes, I have." The question someone threw in was, if you could have a Muppet created after your own personality, what Muppet would it be and why? And I thought it was such a good question. I've asked everyone.
A Muppet created. But Muppets, I mean, obviously I wouldn't want one to necessarily look like me, but I'm not Muppet au fait with Muppets enough. I don't even know how to begin to answer this question.
See, this is an answer I've been getting a lot as well. People,
Muppet any shape, size, or form.
Yeah, it could be anything you want. It could even be an existing one, or a mix of ones. But again,
I think it would have to be possibly a turtle of some description.
Okay.
I'm a Cancerian. I don't believe in a
yeah.
Don't worry about it. I'm not going mad and losing the plot. But one of the things about people, Cancer star signs, is that they've always got their shell to retreat into, and I guess because I actually identify with that. That's why I think I'd have to be a turtle of some description. But hopefully not a slow one.
Turtle with hyperspeed.
Yeah, I'd have to have some form of turbo. I mean, I ride a motorbike. Not a sporty sort of, crazy one. I drive the tractor of motorcycles. It'll go over any ground, and it'll keep on doing it forever and ever. But it can go fast enough. Thank you. I would have to be a motorcycling turtle. There we go. Yeah. That's my character. Please, somebody create me.
just the turbo turtle. Yeah. Fantastic. Cool. And before I stop recording, is there anything you'd like to say to people who are watching or listening?
Just thank you for being interested in what I do. It's a pleasure to be here talking about my work, and an honour to be asked to do it. Keep an eye out for what's coming out. I think there's some really interesting stories and fun stories to come out soon. And yeah, search for Jus Sargeant on your audiobook platform of choice, and you'll find, apart from, if you're interested in learning English, that's fine, but there's lots of fiction and some of it's actually rather good. I can't claim credit, I didn't write it.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. This has been Hellblazer Biz. Hope you've all enjoyed listening or watching. Please remember to subscribe if you're in the UK. Subscribe on Amazon Prime UK, YouTube, Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify. And if you're worldwide, you can also use Hulu and Vimeo as well. I am there too. Search me out. Please rate me, please review me, and share alike. Thank you very much for tuning in. Chris Gordon on Hellblazer Biz.